comes crashing in and reminds me of the past. And sometimes I hear your name. Sometimes I hear your name. It reminds me of the pain. Well, I guess you read me right, 'cause I am a foolish man. But at least I understand. But at least I understand. And I've learned to live with it. Memories like grains of sand, lying helpless on the beach. But the ones you need so bad, the ones you need so bad, are the ones you cannot reach. is like grains of sand.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Robert. Mr. Green Thumb, Lynn, Hector, Uwe, Miss T, Peter, Big Dice, Zero, welcome. And anybody else I might have missed. I know we're going a little bit earlier than our normal schedule, but unfortunately I have a few things that came up, but I wanted to share the information that we have. So
The things we're going to talk about are things that we've talked about a little bit in the past, but maybe not quite so pointed. Something I'd like to point out to people. We've been told many things about many things in the past few years. And the more and more that things are looked into and actual unbiased studies are done, the more and more we're finding out that what we've been told wasn't exactly truthful. And the thing that disturbs me about this, something Brian, talked about is the fear mongering. And the fear mongering when it comes to this that disturbs me the most is they're not just fear mongering people into something that may or may not benefit them. According to latest studies, it absolutely will not. And we've all heard, risk versus benefit and things like that, where you take calculated risks for a better benefit.
So
what we're talking about, Francis, about things that have to deal with COVID vaccines, things like that in the past few years, and the latest information coming out. Whether someone agrees with that or not, that's totally up to them personally. Everybody has to make their own decisions, but it behooves us all to be able to make an informed decision. How do you make a decision if you're not given all the information? How do you assess whether or not something is right or not right for you if you're not given all the information? No problem, Francis. That's the biggest thing. And if they're willing to do these things with something like this, you have to question what else are they willing to do.
Yeah.
They're literally putting billions of people, arguably, at risks that they didn't need to take. And now it's becoming more and more quite obvious. especially with some of the latest stuff coming out.
It's
Go ahead, Brian.
it's funny how I know the title is more fear mongering, but it's funny how fear mongering to one group is reassurance to another group.
And that's the disturbing part, Brian.
Yeah.
Reassurance to what? To ignoring the actual information now? And it doesn't matter. This spans more than just COVID vaccines or things like that. It has to do with the WHO, global banking, business, corporations, how we're going to live in the future.
Yeah.
How we choose to live in the future is literally at risk. Oh, and we lost Brian. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. And that's the thing I'm trying to get people to understand is it isn't just this. Their approach to things are across the board. It's in our finances, it's in our business, it's in our healthcare system, it's in our governance. And it literally is coming down to our very sovereignty and our own well-being in ourselves. Yeah, love, you're correct. There's supposed to be a thing called informed consent. But if you're not informed, how do you give consent? You're correct, Peter. True knowledge is empowering. That's why they hide it. Absolutely. And that's the thing I want people to understand is maybe we don't talk about everything every time. We just try to point out some pertinent information. But do realize that if they're willing to do this and the other things that they're willing to do, and they is a very big, broad, sweeping brush.
Yeah.
Because it's everybody from our politicians to our judicial systems to our agencies that are supposed to have our most well-being out. Something that I'm going to bring up that come from Canada, which I find not only hilarious, but quite disturbing. Or something as simple as an advertisement in New Zealand that's targeted at kids to go and quote unquote do the right thing and get your old magic potion. No problem, Francis. I'll be doing more of those in the future. I don't think of them as administration class, Peter. I think of them as parasites on society. They generally are people who make money or from other things that produce nothing of value. We're literally locked in the whole group of these people between the corporations and the bankers and things like that. We are literally locked into using a system that they designed. And they're looking very hard at introducing the new system of the CBDCs, which, if you don't know, is the central bank digital currency, which shouldn't be construed to be cryptocurrency because they are not the same thing.
They are nowhere near the same thing.
And whether someone likes crypto or not is totally up to them. I know a lot of people into it. I myself personally, not so much. So keep this in mind that some of the things we show aren't just relevant to one thing. You need to realize that if they're willing to go this far on other stuff, and how far they're willing to feign ignorance, it makes you wonder about a lot of other things. You know, informed consent is a funny thing, considering most of the Western world is supposed to be governed by informed consent of the people, not the dictatorial powers of politicians as they seem fit to be at the moment. You know, that's something that should set home with everybody. Our governments are supposed to be designed to be run with our consent for a benefit to the whole of society, not to the benefit of corporations, not to a benefit of any one politician or any one group. But that seems to be turned on its head lately. So there's many things to keep in mind that is relevant as we talk about some of the things we're going to talk about. That it isn't just this stuff, but it seems to me that to break the hold of what's going on in the past few years, we have to break this hold first. Because there's many people that are still buying into this, and that just blows my mind. Anything you'd like to add to that, Brian, before we get going?
No, you pretty. Yeah. I don't know what more I could add to that. It's just crazy. I just put a link into the private chat.
All right.
It's a study that was done back in, I believe, 2022.
Should I bring up the Twitter feed first?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Just so we can give some context here. And I know this is not hard for people to read, but this is from Canada. This is supposed to be their, what is it, Minister of Health or something? General Health Canada, Dr. Celia Laurencio.
I'm not sure. That just changed today. So
yeah, Director General Health Canada.
Yeah.
Who personally signed off and approved the use of the COVID-19 vaccines in Canada and knew all along that the vaccine mandates were never about following the science.
Yeah.
Recently, while testifying under oath on the stand while being cross-examined at Federal Public Sector Labor Relations and Employment Board hearing, and prior to that, while being cross-examined under oath by our lawyers, Sam Perzovius, during 2 days of intense cross-examinations at our federal court vaccine travel mandates lawsuit hearings last spring, Dr. Lorenzo, in my opinion, lied and covered up for the Trudeau government by evading and or claiming that she was unable to explain to the court the very distinct and very important differences between RRR and ARR, which are relative risk reduction versus absolute risk reduction. And what people need to understand is what that means. Relative risk reduction means that they're looking at compared to everybody who tested positive. That means relative to a small group. Actual risk reduction means across the population. So what's your actual risk of contracting? Well, it could be anything. Doesn't matter if it's COVID. It doesn't matter if it's the flu, chicken pox. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I just put a little link. The last link I put up there is a little video sort of explaining the relative to actual.
The last one.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. All right, hold on. All right, I'll put this up and people can take a quick look. Make sure the sound is up.
Pfizer reported that its vaccine shows a 95% efficacy. That sounds like it protects you 95% of the time, right? But that's not actually what that number means. That 95% refers to the relative risk reduction, but it doesn't tell you how much your overall risk is reduced by vaccination. For that, we need absolute risk reduction. In the Pfizer trial, 8 out of 18,198 people who were given the vaccine developed COVID-19. In the unvaccinated placebo group, 162 people got it, which means that even without the vaccine, the risk of contracting COVID-19 was extremely low at 0.88%, which the vaccine then reduced to 0.04%. So the net benefit, or the absolute risk reduction that you're being offered with a Pfizer vaccine, is 0.84%. That 95% number, that refers to the relative difference between 0.88 and 0.04%. That's what they call 95% relative risk reduction. And relative risk reduction is well known to be a misleading number, which is why the FDA recommends using absolute risk reduction instead. Which begs the question, how many people would have chosen to take the COVID-19 vaccines had they understood that they offered less than 1% benefit? You're entitled to know the risks and side effects. In Canada, any potentially serious risk must be disclosed.
That is true, Uwe. What they said is
Pfizer.
So I hope people understood that and what that means. Something to come out today, another study that Dr. Campbell talked about, where they studied healthcare workers who were mandated for the vaccines and the boosters. And it come out that 2.8% showed some signs of myocarditis. Now, just to make people understand, any sign of that is very bad. But 2.8%. Now, if I'm not mistaken, 0.088% equals about 1 out of 120 to 130 people. 2.8% means 1 out of 35. So when you think about a risk-benefit analysis, you're running the risk of about 5 or 6 times of getting myocarditis than you are of catching COVID. And that's providing it was equal across the board, which there's indications that the boosted may even at some point become more susceptible, possibly.
It's yeah. I don't know if you so that second link I put in the private chat, if you want to bring that up. So how long has it been since you've had your last jab there?
Who are you speaking to?
Oh, that's Love Francis too.
Oh,
Well, I hope it's not his first time hearing what we're saying,
I hope not too.
because
Well, if that's the case, then love, you're probably well out of the woods, but you're not completely out of it. I wish I could say that. The only thing I could say is I would think long and hard before I even remotely thought about getting another one in your shoes. But that's me. You have to make your own decisions on that one.
well, I think except for the new people, I was coerced into getting my 2 shots because of work. I am now probably 18 months since the second shot. So I haven't seen any signs of adverse reactions,
But,
but
big but,
it's something that's always sitting in the back of my mind, and that's one of the reasons why I spend the time I do researching this stuff.
because one thing that has been shown is that autoimmune diseases are showing up as much as 15 months out.
Yeah.
So, considering they hadn't had any long-term studies, and that's not to say if you don't catch this stuff that it isn't treatable, but you want to be vigilant.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. As well, you should be vigilant from anything, any medical intervention or procedure. You should be vigilant of.
Yeah.
All right, Uwe, you have a good one, brother.
Take care, Uwe.
And
So
speaking of Uwe, his one of the former people in the government there at in the legal system is literally filing charges against their whole government.
yeah.
How you like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have that second link ready to go up?
Certainly do.
Okay, you just want to
Sweetly.
throw that up. So there you have.
Let's see. Let me read it.
Yeah, if you can.
Myocarditis is more common after COVID infection than after COVID vaccination. But why Google when you can tweet misinformation to millions of followers right now? That's from heart.org. COVID-19 and vaccination poses higher risk of myocarditis than vaccines. The overall risk of myocarditis was higher immediately after being infected with COVID-19 than in the weeks after vaccination following coronavirus.
Yeah.
That was that's not the time that was posted by them though, is it?
No, so if you click on the tweet there, No, no, down below in the little box there, right at like the photograph or just below the picture there.
Yeah.
Click there.
And give me 1 second.
Now, this study that they show here,
Look at the
yeah,
published date. August 22nd of 2022. Go
yeah.
ahead, Brian.
So, okay, so if you go down, then you'll see. So what they have done there is they've done a study from ages under 40. So they're using, they've, instead of doing a study between 16 and 29 or 26, where the biggest risk of myocarditis is, they added to both ends from ages, I forget what the low end, but up to 40. And so they're adding more people to this study to basically to wash the numbers to keep the narrative going, because it's pretty commonly known now that the risk age is between 16 and 26 for myocarditis. So this is one of our independent news reporters who put this out again yesterday, I believe. And it just shows how numbers can be diluted to show the narrative. It's like we were talking earlier. If there's an elephant in a herd of rhinos, and you're looking for rhinos, you don't count the elephant. It's
Yeah, I wonder
just
where you got that analogy.
that's what I said talking with you earlier, right? But there you go. They've added the study. Not that over 26 isn't affected, but they are affected a lot less than people between the ages of 15 and 26. So they've diluted the numbers to just my opinion, of course. They've diluted the numbers to keep the narrative going. So it's like they're appeasing the people who got vaccinated, but they're fear mongering the people who didn't. All in one story.
And what's funny is if you look at Dr. Campbell's latest thing and the latest studies coming out, it directly refutes what they're saying here.
Yes, it does.
If you don't follow him, I would suggest that you do. Because he's quite thorough. I've never found anything that he said, even much to the chagrin of YouTube, that he's been wrong about, other than he believed in the system in the beginning. That has changed 180 degrees. I've never seen a man who is usually cool and calm, literally to the point of almost losing his cool.
Yeah.
And Francis, I'll tell you, you're not the only person wondering that. There's many things that need answers to. And one thing about these studies, and when it comes to informed consent, and it comes to being informed, I will say this, and this isn't medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Talk to your own doctors. Find authoritative people on it, because this is informational, educational, and discussion based only. But I myself, personally, if I were in that group, I would understand that any strenuous activity can be a direct danger to your well being. So if you have access to a medical personnel that you trust, you might want to go speak to them about that and the risks about what you should or should not be doing in your
Yeah.
day-to-day life.
And I will be putting the links to these studies in the description of the video.
Make sure you throw them in your channel too, Brian, so I can find it for the Twitch people later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They'll be in the description. I'm not sure I'll be able to get to that tonight because of.
Oh, that's fine.
But I will throw them in there. Now I just put another link in the private chat if you can
Alrighty.
bring that up, which is a more recent study, which kind of goes along with what Dr. Campbell was saying.
Okay, what it says: despite what you continually hear, risk of myocarditis from COVID mRNA shot is greater than 25 times higher than COVID infection. Young males 16 to 29 are at particular risk. And there's the charts.
I do believe if you click on the on down below there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now I posted that to a lot of people that were reposting the last study there that we just showed, and it ended a lot of conversations because nobody had a comeback. So that's the study there stating that is it between 16 and 26 ages that you're 25 times.
16 and 24.
Yeah.
And this isn't the same study that Dr. Campbell's referring to. His was that directly targeted healthcare workers, seeing that they were mandated. If I was in the healthcare industry, wherever that was done, I would be livid. Francis, anything to do with that can absolutely affect you. Because myocarditis literally means the cells of heart are damaged. And when they do a blood test for troponins, what the troponins are literally the chemicals spilling out of your heart cells. So if you have high troponins, you have heart damage. Whereas congestive heart failure, that I can speak to myself because I have that, is congestion around the heart, not necessarily damage to the heart muscle itself. And I can say that for a fact because I have congestive heart failure. And as I said, no medical advice here, folks.
No.
Do your own thing. Ask your doctors, consult the authoritative figures, and bow down to your overlords at YouTube because they know F-ball more than everybody else.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when I came across that study we just had for under 40, my immediate thoughts go to, well, all the information that came out about who's at higher risk for myocarditis. And when pointing that out to people that are, well, see this study, and when you point out those facts to them that, you know, they've added people who are at less risk on both ends, that the numbers are skewed. So we're supposed to not think about the high risk age group in this study and just add people to it that aren't as greater risk to skew numbers. It just it pisses me off. And that's why I couldn't go live later, so that's why I went live now, to just show that you know, unless you break the numbers down, you can be easily lied to with numbers.
Yep, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics.
That's right.
And love, no, you're not bothering anybody. By all means, if anybody has a question, I will try to direct you in the direction to hopefully maybe you can find an answer. That's why we do these.
Yeah.
I'm all for people wanting to know, and I'm all for people challenging us. I'm more than happy to be challenged. Believe me.
Yeah.
Brian can attest to that.
Oh yeah. I've only beaten him once.
Only one time. He got me once. But I bowed down too, didn't I?
Well, you quickly took a 180 when the evidence is shown.
Yep, let it not be said. You show me I'm wrong. By all means, I'm happy to be wrong. You show me.
Yeah. I would love to be wrong about a whole bunch of stuff that I'm finding. But
yeah, you know, intentions aside, love. And I told this to Brian. I would really, really like to show up at Congress or Parliament or whatever your government happens to have for representation with a box full of the old magic potion and say, we're going to line you up for your boosters and watch how many politicians run out the back door.
yeah.
That'll tell you right quick who knew what. And what really pisses me off is that in the latest Dr. Campbell video, they're literally putting out advertisements targeted at young children and young people to do the right thing and go get their magic potion because that's the responsible thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the face of the information that's coming out, you have to ask yourself, the people that are putting it out, what's their motivation? No questioning this stuff at all? Is that how that works now?
Well, what does it's easier to fool somebody than to show them they've been fooled.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, like for me, there's nothing I can do or anybody can do about the people that got their 2 initial shots. My hope is that people will get this information and not go any further.
Love, you're not the only one. I'm a veteran myself. And I often wonder maybe if some of the problems I'm having today aren't directly related to that. Because as I said, what we're talking about isn't just directly related to medical. I want you to think about the thought process that our so-called representatives have if they're aware of this stuff. And you've got to be some kind of special form of stupid not to be.
Yeah.
If they're willing to do this, what else are they willing to do?
Yeah.
Well, don't thank me for my service. Thank my friends who didn't come back. The thing of it is, folks, is that the more and more we see about what's going on with just not the past 3.5 years of COVID stuff, but with the financial markets, the WHO, and I'm serious, if that WHO thing goes through, hang it up.
Yeah. And that's I see a lot of focus put on the distractions that they're throwing in front of us, and it really scares me that this WHO issue isn't the top issue.
And if you haven't seen any of the videos out of China about what they'd like to design when it comes to the CBDCs, people think of these 15-minute cities like they're going to fence them off. No, they ain't going to have to. That digital currency goes through, they can dictate where, when, and how you spend any of your quote unquote money. And at that point in time, you might as well just call it a credit.
It's a digital fence.
It'll be a digital fencing, absolutely a digital fence.
Yeah. But no, it can't happen here. You know.
Nope. Can't happen here until it does.
The EU are signing on to this World Digital Vax Passport.
Yep. Well, that's what they passed off control of to the WHO.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the thing is you're talking about people who are not elected by any one country. They have no sovereignty to any one country. The only thing they literally have any answering to is the people who pay the bills. And guess who pays the bills?
85% of the WHO funds come from, shall we say, private enterprise.
Yeah.
You can look that right up on their website. The last director of the WHO admitted that.
And love, when you still see people wearing masks, that shows you how uninformed and how fearful people really are. Is that their own fault? Maybe. Maybe if they'd have been told the truth in the first place, it wouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
But that becomes a detriment to us all. And don't get me wrong, I'm no anti-medication, anti-vax, anti-nothing. But when you have people still walking around thinking that's doing them a lick of good, It's just nuts. Something you wanted to say, Brian? I didn't mean to cut you off.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record about the WHO, but somehow that just doesn't seem to be getting into people's head that we got to find out. We have a petition against the World Pandemic Treaty, which is supposed to be brought into the House by Leslyn Lewis, but our Parliament doesn't sit again till September 19th. Still haven't found out who would write a letter to the WHO for Canada or the US to opt out of the amendments to the international health regulations. It's and I was on the phone with the office of Leslyn Lewis, and they couldn't tell me what is actually the proper procedure to opt out of the international health regulations. So our governments don't even know really what's going on.
Well, the people who should, obviously. Somebody knows what's going on.
Well, it's hard to trust anyone anymore who are in the medical field, like WHO. Don't know who to trust in the medical field or any government or the UN, the WHO. It's yeah.
I could say a lot of things when it comes to that, but I won't at the moment.
Yeah. Well, here, some people think beating the facial recognition with technology with the face mask. Well, that's not going to work. And to think that I hear people talking about they want to chip you. They don't need to chip you to know everything about you. There's with facial recognition, there's your digital chip. Retina scanning, even
identify you by the way you walk.
Yeah, gait technology, which is supposed to be more accurate than facial recognition.
Yep. I really think the whole chip thing is a red herring to get people to believe if they get that shot down that they've won, when in actuality they have not.
They have not won in the least. You know, it's I really don't know what happened to critical thinking skills. Or being
that asteroid with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I guess we're the dinosaurs.
I'm thinking so, Brian.
Yeah, it's
but anyways, folks, I'm going to post Dr. Campbell's channel. If you're not subscribed to him, I wholeheartedly suggest that you do. And I suggest you watch the past couple videos of his, because they'll go over some of the things that we talked about much more thoroughly and much more succinctly. And this is Dr. Campbell's channel on YouTube. He does have a Rumble channel, but I don't think he posts everything to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that one, Big Dice. I've not seen any proof of that. Yeah, and I'll tell you, you really should watch his latest video, and I believe it's 2 videos prior that talks about some of the other stuff. I'm actually quite surprised YouTube left them up. Because quite frankly, I would have thought the International Health Commission thing would have done it, but obviously not. And the biggest thing is you got to talk to more people than just online. Friends and family and stuff. Open their eyes to this stuff.
Well, that's the big thing. Everybody needs to spread this. Spread the information. Talk to people. When I say talk to people, I mean talk to people. Don't yell at people. Don't curse at people. Don't try not to be confrontational, because that just stops everything from a conversation to go forward. So.
And on that note, is there anything you'd like to add, Brian?
No, I'm good here. Like I say, I'll put all the links in the description. Probably it should be there by tomorrow, and people can have a look.
And if you happen to catch me on Twitch, even if I'm doing a music thing and you want one of the links, let me know. I'll do my best to get them for you. You know, all I can say, people, is think, because it's more than just the magic potion and COVID. It's a lot of different things. So, and on that note, I'll thank everybody for showing up.
Thanks,
I hope
everyone.
everybody learned a little bit. I'm sorry that we always have to be the bearer of bad news, it seems, but
I know. Yeah, I know it's always, but don't shoot the messenger.
no, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just trying to give you information that might save your butt.
Yeah.
And on that case, guys, we're going to be out of here in 3, 2, 1. Everybody have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one, guys.